soon, the little rascal. And Andrew, they say Andrew looks like me. Lord Davy, that child's going to have to go with that, along with that look for the rest of his life, I'm afraid. There's a lot to tell. I could tell a lot about the State College, an awful lot more. I could tell you more about the barbershop, about old Charlie Brewer, who hired me in the insurance business. Other ones were writing me. Metropolitan Life was after me. Prudential was after me. New York Life was after me. But I went with my old friend Charlie Brewer. He had a big scar in the back of his neck, and nobody else could cut his hair. And he talked me into going with Nationwide. This was the smartest thing I ever did. And I finally left the barber shop during the Second World War, and those were rough and grimy days. I worked out of Scotia. I was paymaster out there, the chief clerk. And Sarah Marks, who comes here and works here, I knew her grandfather. I passed him paying checks. I know I gave Connie's grandfather, who worked out there during the Second World War, I know I gave him paychecks. That's out of Scotia. And some of these people down here don't even know anything about it. I got off on that Scotia deal. I don't know why I got off on it, but I just had to talk about it a little bit. Connie wants this for the children to have something to remember their father by. I could tell a lot. Some things I left out because they hurt people. Other things I won't talk about because they're not fit to be talked about. I got in trouble a couple times in my life too, but never anything bad. That toilet deal was about the last one. Now, last time I was really mad. I'm going to tell you about this. It was out in Illinois, and we were playing keep away with a soccer ball. And I had the soccer ball, and I threw it away. And this kid, I could think a little bit. I'd come up with his name. I'll go down through the alphabet, and I'll come up with it. Wouldn't get off of my back, so I shook him off, and he landed. And when he did, he kicked me at the base of my spine, and it hurt like the devil. And I had always been told to fight fair. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. Okay. I'm just. That was Margaret. She just stuck her nose around the door. They're putting a new dryer in there. But this kid, I'd always been taught to fight fair. So I turned around when he was coming up, and I was going to let him have it. And I wouldn't hit him when he was down, and he come up, he hit me smack in the face. I didn't feel anything. I couldn't see anything. And they had to pull me off him. I'd have killed him. I had a hold of him. I had him down, and they said they'd just pried my hands loose because he was on the way out. That's the last time I was mad. Your dad can be pushed so far. And I just stopped. I remember the phone rang one time, and an officer or a policyholder wanted to know why they were canceling his insurance. Well, I knew why, but you couldn't tell people at that time. I told him why they could cancel it, for drunken driving or for morals. And I had read about it in the paper where he had stole money from the post office. He isn't the only one that stole money from the post office. Paul Virtue, Dick Merritt, and a couple more of them. I got the answer from the post office all the time. But anyways, he told me one day, and I told him these things, and they said, well, you're not so lily white. I read in the paper about your son. Pat had gotten into some trouble. I'm not going to tell you how or why or any wherefore, but he did. And his mother hollered at me, and she said, what's wrong with you? Why are you calling like that? I said, no one talks about my kids or about my family, because if they do, they're in real trouble. And I said, he started that. I told him, do you want to talk business? All right. But you lay the hell off of my family, because nobody gives them a bad time over my dead body. All right, I'm in the house of care now. I talked to Barbara Ann a couple of weeks ago. I talked to Mike. Talked to Ralph. The other tenant in here is a young guy, 30 years old. He don't have that much longer to live. He goes to dialysis. And his name is Bill Lyons. His minister was in here. All the family was in here. And Connie and I replaced the front TV. And by God, one of those kids or somebody lost it, the remote. They don't have it. So I'll sign off here, and if Connie wants me to put something else on, why, I'll do it. I love all of you. Goodbye. Here I'm going to start again. I just happened to think of something. I thought about Fred when he's down in Florida. One night I'd gone to bed and I heard a fuss out in the living room, and it happened to be his mom and some girl, and she got me up. Somebody had been shot up at the Discount Auto, and we both went up there, and lo and behold, it was Fred. And they said he was down at the hospital. He had this big yellow ribbon around there. And we went down there, and they wouldn't let us in to see him, but I had to take a leak, and I went around, and I seen this big guy. I knew it was Fred because of the size of his feet, and he was laying on his stomach, and the doctor was working on his back. And I came around, and I told Connie, I got an elephant, and all the king's men couldn't have kept her away from him. You just remember some of these things, Master Fred, about your mother and her love for you. We went down. Well, he came out. In other words, he had evidently, I've never seen him, but pellet holes in his back. This black guy kicked the store in at about 11 o'clock at night when they were closed, and said I shot up into the ceiling, and he told him to lay down on the floor. They put the shotgun up against her head. And if I'm wrong, Fred, you tell me. And told him to do it. And any money in the safe, he'd kill them all. And then he rounded them up back to the restroom, and he said I never did like crackers, and he shot Fred in the back. And that's where it was. The detective came around later on a couple of times and showed Fred these pictures of some of these black people. And he said, I don't want to see any more of them. I said, why? He said, because. He says, it upsets me. And I said, don't you want him to catch him? He says, yep. He said, I want to kill him. A little bit of his dad there, I guess. Well, anyways, I guess they never did catch him because Fred bought himself a big power pistol and wore it around his middle from there on out. And I said, what are you going to do with that? Well, he said, the next time, he says, there's one of us who's going to be dead, and it isn't going to be me. So that's the way. And I had my pocket picked by a black woman just a few months before that, 6 months before that. Turned you off sort of at black people. But however, I had some wonderful people, friends black down there that's black. So there's a little bit of good in the worst of us, and a little bit of bad in the best of us. And don't make any difference whether they're black, green, blue, purple, or orange, or whatever they are. If they're nice people, they're nice people. And if they're not, they aren't worth a damn. I'm going to go back to Levon again about Ralph, Butch Myers, and some other kid. I forget what the devil their name was. I had it on the end of my tongue right now. But they had stole some copper wires that were in a barn down there and burnt the insulation off of it because they were going to sell it. And this woman, I wish to God I could remember some of these names. In other words, she called Mrs. Myers and I down for a conversation. And she proceeded to lower the boom on us because they had stolen this wire. Well, I said, where'd you get the money for it? She says, no. She says, you go up and buy the wire. I said, no, I'm not going to because I don't know what kind of wire you want. You just tell us how much it is. And she started to give us a rough time, and I shut her up real fast. And we went out of there. I don't remember how it came out. Anyways, her kids got into a lot of trouble. Her one son got into far more trouble than Fred or the rest of them ever, or Ralph or Mike. They were always getting in a little bit of trouble. Got into. But anyways, Mrs. Meyer said, I'm glad you shut her up. I said, well, she wasn't going to call all over me because kids will do these things. So that was one time when, another time when I got angry about it. I think I told you about the number of windows and all this and that. But Florida was quite a place. I had retired from Nationwide and going down there, and I had to have something to do, so my God, I did income tax. I worked for Gersheimer at Cell Insurance, and I got in with the Ledger. I worked for the Ledger of the New York Times for 18 years, and one time I went over there to get in there, and there wasn't anybody at the front door, as they say, and I rattled it pretty good, and then they came back out there, and I wanted them to leave me in. I had my badge on, and they didn't want to leave me in. So I said, all right. So we got a letter from Miss Nancy that I had been reported on, and this was, in other words, if there was another time occurrence arose that I was finished. Well, the perpetrator of the whole damn thing was a black woman by the name of Gussie, who was a liar and who was a thief, who pretended that she was a Christian. In other words, I'm like Harry Christmas, but they prayed too loud, run home and locked the smoke out of the store. Well, anyways, a couple weeks later, they fired her because Connie typed a letter up for me and sent them to this with a copy to my attorney. And in 18 years, I had never had any problems, and I wasn't going to have any problems more, but possibly the Ledger might have a few more problems. I'm going to have to slow down sometimes, because every once in a while something comes back to me that I'd forgotten about Illinois, how I tried to ride a bicycle out there. I rode out to the bluffs, rode a sled in the back of a car at about 60 miles an hour. So I wonder I'm still there. When in the damn river, I took a boat one time, rode down the river with it, and left it set. I didn't know who it was, but Leon McCosh had told me that any boat that wasn't tied was anybody's property. Well, I took the boat. The next day, what's his name, from Winslow, Appleball, who was a jerk. Winslow was one of these guys that if you caught him and he wasn't right, why his face would get red and he'd get mad as hell. He thought he was God's gift to the whole world because of his intelligence. But if he knew how the rest of us felt about him, he wouldn't have been so proud. But anyways, it was his father's boat, and he came over and he bounced me on it, and I had to take it back. Well, old Leon McCosh went over there and told him that I'd taken it. One of those guys that always had to stir what we called shit to get someone in trouble. Homer Boone's old man was the same way. He stood in line down to Grange Fair, and Homer told me he reached up in front of it and grabbed some woman by the rear end. And of course, the poor devil in back of her and got blow from her husband. But it was old Harry Boone who did it. Homer was a good friend of mine. He was a scoundrel. Eleanor Bone told Nancy, or told Ann the other week that I was a rascal. Well, I was. I was probably as devilish as the rest of them. But I worked from the time I was about 12 years old. And I have to have something to do. Period. I can't, because I'm not going to fall by the wayside. I don't happen to know where I'm at in this history of mine. But I'm sitting in the house of care right now. And it's only about 30 or 31 outside. And that's not too cold, I don't think. I had lost some money that I had, but there it was in the basket of clean clothes this morning. I think I wanted to talk about Jack Austin and Jessica Coates, but I think I told you something about that before. But my dad and mother and Dawn came down from Altoona, and I got Dawn a job next door at the automotive supply store. And my dad went to work, I think it was for Harry Christmas, the barber shop down on 2th Street. I think he also worked for Guy Springer in the barber shop, and worked at Austin's barber shop too, or Cassidy's, or whatever you want to call it. And that was about as much history as I had. But we come back here. I think I better go back a little bit. Way back to Illinois when I